all very motivated, very dedicated. I think everyone's playing solo queue, everyone's looking at VoDs, perma. Like, I think everyone here has their main focus fully on League, and everyone's very fresh. Everyone really still has that hunger to win as well, and I think that just makes us a very good team and very hard to beat, and allows us to improve fast as well.
Again, now you get the channel going forward from Markoon.
Markoon goes all the way forward. Bo is knocked up, knocked down, and killed. And Sertuss is the focus from Vitality, but the re-engage once more from Irrelevant. They're able to do it. This is it for SK. They've been able to take down Vitality.
I think MAD this season has been a very slow and steady team. I think they draft very meta, scaling, and I think they've played very well around mid-jungle 2v2 this season. So I'm looking forward to see how me and Sertuss can line up against that. And I think if we match them in the 2v2, then we can just take over the game. But if we lose, then I think our game will just be over.
Well, it's not over. In fact, SK are still in it and are 1 game away from moving on to facing Koi tomorrow. But MAD Lions, of course, aren't out of this one yet. They've done reverse sweeps in the past. They've done all kinds of crazy things. So I'm sure this is possible. Howdy, partner.
I'm just happy to be here.
Have you today discovered that there is a marker on this desk?
I have. I'm just spicing up the desk. I think that what you say is right. We've seen some incredible stuff from both of these teams and organizations. And I think that there's a lot more on the line than I think people necessarily realize. We have mentioned it, partly as a joke, but also partly as to remind people of MAD Lions' situation last year, where domestically they weren't able to win a best of 5. And then when we looked at this roster throughout the regular season, throughout the group stages, it felt like that they were one of the shoo-ins to guarantee a top 3. And if they were to fall short, it would be to a Koi or a G2 or even a Vitality. To lose to an SK, a brand new roster with young players that have only come together this year, would be a devastating blow to a lot of these players and the organization's current recent legacy.
And it's just such a big contrast to the expectations coming through from SK as well, right? Because what was Doe's expectation at the start of it? Oh, it's a shoo-in if you make top 8 for some of the people out there as well, right? And then continuing from there to the build-up we have here, where regular season completely stumbling, group stage having some issues, but now again, finding some of that groove with the late game scaling in some of these games here.
And as Verios brought up kind of the bigger picture implications for the MAD Lions, for SK to make a deep run here in the Winter Split in terms of kind of the way the season works now, in terms of wanting to qualify for the season finals at the end of the year, this is so incredibly important. And I think maybe because we're just in the Winter Split, we're not seeing those implications yet, because we're all coming to terms with it. But in terms of kind of that development, this is also great.
Yeah, 100%. We haven't really talked much about championship points so far this split. And as we get into spring, this will become a larger topic of conversation. But you're right in that right now, the winners of each split secure a spot in the end of the season finals. Yes, that's the wording. Exactly.
Yeah.
And those words. But everyone else qualifies on championship points.
Yeah.
And consistency is rewarded. And MAD Lions getting a 4th place spot, if this is where they fall short, sure would still be good. Obviously, better than a Fnatic, for example. But it's if you aren't able to maintain that top form, like, you have to be worried about where this SK roster can still go. Because I think, like, one of the big questions that people have, especially when you look at veterans, what is their ceiling? Have we seen their ceiling? Can they go above it? Or, like, is there still room for them to grow? We know, without a doubt, that this SK roster, we've only seen the start of their very long journey. This is the beginning of what could be an incredibly talented roster. And if they fall short here, the expectations on them have already far surpassed what they were expected to do. And now they can only grow and develop from here. But for MAD Lions, the expectations are already up here. And it was even Exakick on Euphoria that was saying, well, I don't want to be in that position, because you have to think of the weight and responsibility that's on your shoulders. And that's what these MAD players now face.
It's kind of the stuff of magic, right? The underdog runs that are possible. You see it across all sports and esports very often, but when it hits you, you never know when it's happening. And I really want to believe, Goldborg, that SK can make it. Obviously, it would be commiserations to MAD, because again, they wouldn't be able to win a best of 5 here. But we've said it already. The red side will be looming, I'm pretty sure. Also, yes, you've noticed that we are talking a little bit more. I'm waiting to get you wording on why we are talking a little bit longer. In any case, Goldberg, you didn't get to speak before the break. So how does SK win this from red side, which I still haven't got confirmed that MAD Lions is picked blue, but I'm going to assume.
Yeah, let's assume that they did, because I think, so in my head, I've come down to, okay, when you go on red side right now, you will probably still most likely get rid of Maokai, Elise, and Ashe, like your 3 picks. And on the other side, we've seen MAD Lions go for the Jax, we've seen them go for the Seri, and we could possibly see them go for the Vi just to say, have that extra answer that if you first pick the Sejuani, there's no Vi on the other side, and then you have to go for the other things. So that's already a problem. You could overload it. Both let Elise and Sejuani be up, and then just let's say, all right, you have the early game, we get the late game, and that would be something that SK would have liked.
I have an update.
Okay.
The start of Game 5 is delayed as the league officials investigate server side issues. I'm just gonna yeah, that doesn't sound good. I just mean it's not that someone pushed a button.
Yeah, fucking with that ham, isn't that classic?
Please no. But in
That's
any
a
case,
throwback.
yeah, and it really sucks because this is the last time, or like, you really don't want it now, that elongated break. I think when you're coming off of the high of that Game 4 win for SK Gaming, as well as MAD Lions, who hopefully have discussed already what they want to do in this Game 5. I hope it doesn't take too long, but let's go on this path then. Red side for SK.
I think it's worth considering the strengths and weaknesses that we've seen from both sides, right? And if we start with SK, because that's what we're kind of talking about, we recognize that their bot lane 2 versus 2 is incredibly good, right? We know that, we've seen that, we have multiple proof of it.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest question mark comes down to how much can Markoon influence the map? Because in Game 2, where they won, he was able to find a lot of good ganks top and bot. He was able to play through both lanes, and they were able to get through the early game to a point with which they could rely on their mid to late game team fighting, which has proven to be, at this point, one of the best in the league. Unfortunately, when they fall behind early, when they're struggling in the 2 versus 2, when MAD Lions get to dictate the pace of the early game, this is where we see MAD Lions come alive. And I don't want to boil it down to simply something as simple as draft. I don't want to boil it down to something as simple as win early, win the game. But what we are consistently seeing from these drafts are situations where a team is going to get outscaled, and the team that often has better scaling is often able to get a good start to the game because they have more tools to work with. And I feel like that both these teams need to really think about how valuable is this Lucian Nami, because both teams have answers to it, which means that if you have an answer to it and consistently throughout this series have been able to deny it and shut it down, maybe it's not as safe a blind pick as it used to be.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we're honing in on this so much as well is just because when this bot lane finally gets ahead, and why the bot lane meta is so well bot lane centric at the moment in competitive play as well, it's so much easier to navigate the map when you have 2 members that it's going through. It's so much easier to get your Drake stacking going from the early game. If you have a winning bot lane, well, it doesn't matter if top lane is winning, because you'll just simply rotate your bot lane top, and now you have a winning Herald fight.
But
yes?
in the beginning of this series, we were praising MAD Lions for how much they went top lane, how great of a game Chasy has had, who's been so incredibly dependable throughout the split overall and really made a difference. They completely abandoned that seemingly for such a focus on bot, in which they proceeded to throw a 2v2 advantage in fights.
Well, that's a really valuable point, because when we look back to Game 2, it was Chasy who was shut down by the aggressive ganks thrown topside.
Oh, yeah.
In Game 3, we saw the Draven game, so they were going to ignore topside.
Anyways.
But Game 4, it was, but also in Game 3, MAD banned Sion.
Yeah.
And then in Game 4, they got Sion, and even if they tried to play through top, there was nothing to play for. So you then have to bring into question, sure, if you just want to neutralize bot and then play through Chasy, I completely agree with you, that's a very viable option, but then you've got to make sure that top matchup is one you can actually snowball.
Oh, I love it. We're fired up, and I was going to say, the server, it's not fired up. It's fine. It's not on fire. It's great. The league officials have resolved the issue. Let's send it over to our casters for Game 5.
Thank you so much, Sharks. We are entering Game 5 of MAD Lions versus SK Gaming. And the question is, what will SK do? The blue side has won all 4 games this series. And when we have looked at specifically that Sion, it has been banned in 3 of them, either in Phase 1 or Phase 2. So what do SK do? What wrenches do they throw into the mix here? What happens with Lucian Nami? What happens with Elise? What happens with some of these other power picks that have had such a big influence?
I'm actually curious to see if they end up nearly baiting out the Lucian Nami as second rotation blue side, and then trying to see if you can pick a Scion, pick up something that can actually answer for it, because we can see the Aphelios Lulu worked pretty well into it. The fact you got that Scion made it absolutely unkillable. So I'm curious if you see a little bit of a different attack here coming through from SK.
Yeah, and in terms of the Scion too, whether or not Mad Lions decide to ban that in phase 1, it could be a R3 pick. Delay the jungle pick to make sure you get the Scion for SK.
And I think when you look at that Aphelios specifically for Exakick, his most played champion, 38 games with a near 80% win ratio. He was a large part of the reason that SK won that 4th game just moments ago. And SK will now need to do something that hasn't been done today. Find a win on that red side. I think if they end up going with a similar sort of draft to what we've seen in Game 3, it was that Jax, Sejuani, and Zeri banned away by Mad Lions, and they've answered the question. Scion, first ban here on the blue side.
All right, that answers that. So then, does the Jax drop? I don't think so. That's been pretty consistent for them. So then I'm thinking the Zeri potentially drops and is left open. SK also, I didn't think we would see a Nautilus ban, perhaps, because Maokai, Elise, Ashe are all options. We're probably getting one of those champions let through.
Okay, still gonna get the Zeri. I assume they were like, okay, chances are it'd be the Zeri that's dropped. Let's ban the Nautilus so we don't get the Draven Nautilus lane coming through. Maokai's still there. So are they just going to let the Elise through and go, hey, look, as long as we can keep ourselves safe, we'll be fine. Maybe they can have a better time. Or is it going to be the Ashe that actually managed to finally make its way through one of these drafts?
Question is, who do you think you can contain more, Elyoya or Hylissang? Aphelios will be banned away, denying that option to Exakick. So now we're going to find out, will the Elise or the Ashe be the priority picks? It also means that Jax will be open and available, a consideration for the top lane, but so many different questions, and SK have to figure out, do they try a composition that hasn't found success this series, or just go for that front to back? It'll be the Ashe band.
There you go, Elise left open, expecting that to come in first. Markoon potentially responding with that Dark Harvest Gragas as the counter that we've seen twice already in this series. But I have to say that the thing I love most about best of fives, and you don't see this in BO1s, but over the course of a series, how like the signature pocket picks of different players get respect banned so early. The Nautilus from Hylissang, the Scion from Irrelevant, and now Exakick's Aphelios on top.
I feel like here, though, you try and pick up this Jax. I was thinking you actually go Jax Sejuani, because the big thing is you want to try and get comfort for Irrelevant. You don't want that Jax to just slip through the ban phase again. But also, I think if you're going to go for something like this, more bruiser carrying the top side, having engage on a Sejuani becomes very, very important.
Now, does Carzzy feel the Draven once more? It was the Draven Nautilus into the Lucian Nami in Game 3. Instead,
okay.
It's going to insta-lock there the Gragas as well as the Jayce.
That's wild. Still leaving the option to switch those between solos. Technically, Hilly could always take the Gragas down onto the bottom side, but that puts SK in a really tough spot, because do you take the Jax as an answer? Okay, maybe you're playing into a Jayce, maybe not so fun to play melee versus range, but also you need your jungler, or that's going to get double banned on the opposite side. And with Gragas off the table as well, the Sejuani is a natural solution for SK, but that means that once again, Irrelevant will be double banned. I'm almost sure that the Jax will be taken away by Mad Lions, unless Chasy just wants to play that matchup straight up.
I feel like you just get rid of the Jax here, make it easy on yourself, because I think Chasy has answers in things like the Fiora, but certainly this team fighting comps have been the way forward, and I think going back towards that is probably going to be your best bet, especially when you've already got the Gragas and the Jayce. You've already got that flexibility there, you just want to stick with it. So we'll have to see exactly how we go. Varus going to be taken off the board, though. A lot of pressure on towards Carzzy to see exactly what he does want to bring out, because a hell of a lot of AD carry bans here.
And of course, the big question for me is whether or not Nisqy will be running that Gragas again. He did his first ever professional game on the champion earlier this series, had a great impact. SK not banning either of those solo lanes just yet. Varus, and waiting for their final one, it will be the Draven as well. So Carzzy's going to be pushed a little bit lower down that priority list. We've got the likes of Siva, the likes of Ezreal, maybe even another option available to him. But for Mad Lions now, they will at least get one of these solo lanes locked in for SK and then figure out where does that Gragas and that Jayce decide to go.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we could reverse all the way back to game 1 and maybe play a Sivir Karma down on the bot side for Mad Lions. I also think the Caitlyn is something that could come through potentially. Fell off a lot compared to the last weeks, but with the Elise setting up for early dives is a possibility.
I'd actually love an Ezreal Karma here, where I think you actually just go all in on the poke, right? You get the Jayce, you get the Ezreal that can do relatively well, should be fine on the bottom side, and then you can actually have an opportunity to set up well for these fights, try and play around the relatively short range that this composition SK has once Lucian doesn't have that color.
Take a look at this Renekton, by the way. First time in this series, you have 4 irrelevant. It's his second most played champion. He's got 13 games, but a win rate of only 38% is definitely going to be one of those champions that can run away with the game, especially if Markoon decides to gank top, put some time and pressure onto him, which is what Markoon did in the second game against Vitality, getting Irrelevant ahead and unlocking the win through the top lane.
And it's interesting to see because you do essentially end up counterpicking yourself with the Renekton going into the Gragas, but Hilly and also the Tristana here for Carzzy. This is going to be we want to all in every second that we can, and Elyoya, we're going to need help from you to do that.
I mean, the Rell set up for a Gragas cast to pull them all in and knock them whichever direction you want. We finish off the draft with DOS locking in the Zoe for Sertuss to rock in the mid lane as well. Nisqy looked so powerful on that champ at the start of the game, and I'm almost expecting Nisqy to hold on to the Jayce here in mid lane. I think the Gragas is just going to play a little bit more passively towards the top side of the map because I'm a little concerned what you could do, but at the same time, if you want to set up to early dive Renekton, Jayce topside makes a ton of sense.
We need Sertuss, though, to actually get control over this mid lane and do what Nisqy did in the zone, where he's roaming bot, making sure that Exakick and DOS are safe. Surprised, though, honestly, actually, I thought we were going to see the Jayce in the mid lane because, for me, Gragas just does so well into Renekton, and you can still have that Jayce being able to play for skirmishes, but it is actually going to be the swap around.
I think it has to be because Mad Lions want to play a more topside focused game. Like, yes, you can gank bot lane, you have the Rell to try and help set up, but this is going to be punished central on Irrelevant, some revenge from game 4 if they can set it up.
And it is another example of the Mad Lions doing something that we haven't necessarily seen a whole lot. We haven't necessarily tasted that Tristana, that Rell. I mean, Hylissang's got, I think, like 10 or so games on the champion. That's the first time we're seeing him pull it out. In terms of how this early game will play out, the Elise from Elyoya into Markoon Sejuani, the champion that Markoon is still undefeated on. Can he have an impact? Can he prevent Mad Lions from closing out the series? Welcome to Summoner's Rift for Game 5. Mad Lions versus SK Gaming. Mad Lions once again grouped up as a 5-strong in the bottom lane. No champions available to them though, as SK are playing defensively up around that mid lane.
I mean, this is a really good call. Hilly going to be really good on the engages, and you can always go for something sneaky like this where you hop in over the wall. Even the fact that you could try and get vision down on this bottom side to try and set up so you can always go for that early all-in. Hilly will be spotted by Exakick here though, and they know the Mad Lions are in the bot side.
Yeah, we're potentially looking for a wraparound there if anyone was camped inside of that brush. Exakick playing far back enough that he's going to be okay. Now, options are on the other side of the map for SK to walk in and place down a ward. I like warding up the Raptors from Sertuss, trying to track this Elise in the early game, because so often you'll see these Elises start on their red side camps, clear away 3, and then you've got red buff, and you're instantly looking to influence one of the lanes.
I mean, already you've got a lot of pressure up onto this top side. Again, I think I'm looking at how Mad Lions want to try and play this early level. The Rell, very similar to the Nautilus in that you really need to get this early game going. Early levels is where you want to try and find your advantages. Otherwise, the poke is going to become too much on those later stages. So DOS and Exakick hiding just away from Hilly in that bot side.
And of course, we saw Hylissang completely take over the game earlier this series on that Nautilus. Landing engage after engage. He started with that W, got the crash down available, will land it onto Exakick. Rocket jump forward from Carzzy. The damage trade is high and it's cleanse for Exakick already used. Flash away from Carzzy. Exakick picks up first blood. A fight that Mad Lions Lions started. Now Hilly's the focus, the target, and he's simply not got enough damage. Forced to flash over the wall, and it's SK that win.
Just a wild all in there. Carzzy taking W at level 1, maybe a chance to reset that and get a second, but the lack of damage there absolutely punished. Chasy takes a great trade on the top side of the map, but it's also Carzzy playing with cleanse. Like they don't have as much to try and go for this early all-in.
Especially when you have that heal, the ignite to try and start the all-in, cleanse immediately, you got the extra heal there for Doss, so an extra summoner spell to go to use in that bottom side. Now Carzzy back in lane, big wave pushing in towards Exakick means he'll be able to catch that just as he gets back to lane.
Yeah, we're going to be able to pick up that additional longsword as well as the refillable pots, and maybe going to hold off just for a moment or two. Hylissang, once again, starting this this match off very aggressively, very forward-facing. Unfortunately for him, messing up that first engage. Elyoya looking for the level 3 tower dive, flash away from Irrelevant, the Q in the minion wave. The repel will reset the aggro, and that was just beautiful from Elyoya.
Very nicely played. Can't say that was too shocking there. 3 camps into looking for a top lane dive. Irrelevant will TP back, so we won't lose too many minions off of that. But Markoon pathing top to bot, sort of forsaking his own top laner here to make sure he can stick around this bot side, which you have to remember is so volatile now that Nisqy wanted to walk into River to see if he could spot Markoon and give his team some info.
But the problem now is that Carzzy and Hilly are way overextended bot side. They don't get to crash the wave again. Having the lack of a range support here is hurting them. Exakick and Doss going to slow build this wave and be in a great spot for, say, something like the Dragon that's spawning in a minute's time.
Something that can happen over the next few minutes is if Hylissang decides to roam and try to move around to help out Elyoya or try to gank those other lanes, the AoE from this Tristana can sit in a lane a little bit alone. It's not seen Hylissang roaming too much throughout this series. It's definitely not as much as we've seen throughout the regular season and group stage, primarily because there's just been so much action, so much fighting, and Markoon is backing up Doss and Exakick for now. Elyoya is relatively close by the Krugs.
There's nothing really for Elyoya to do after the Krugs, so it's either bot lane gank, maybe a mid lane gank, something like this. Markoon in a really good position to set up the counter, knowing this big wave is building. This time he's here to support. And this has been classic. Markoon covering for the lanes that are shoving on in here as they guided on in, but walking over the ward, I don't think Mad Lions are going to want to take this fight.
They're not. Exakick, however, will dash all the way forward. Carzzy's low, below 300, but it's Exakick that's the focus. Exakick that's the target. Exakick that is down. The reset and the W. The reset again. And Carzzy is chasing out Doss. 2 quick kills to the Mad Lions.
Chasy killed Irrelevant too, by the way.
Yeah, you had the lead. Exakick, you just needed to play it safe. Just crash the wave, reset, and you're fine. But now, as you say it, kills in bot. Chasy takes over top, and what was a great start has fallen to pieces.
Yeah, I mean, that bot lane gank was not going to work unless Exakick just full sent it into them like he did right there. And Mad Lions absolutely punish off that, even knowing Markoon was in the area. At the same time, just the fact that Elyoya only needs the 1 gank on top side so that Chasy can sprint away with this matchup is absolutely huge. Irrelevant just used both slice and dice and got murdered.
I mean, think back to the last time Chasy played this Jayce in the top lane. He had such a huge impact. Fantastic damage throughout the course of the game. And he's already 2-0 up, got a 12 CS advantage, nearly 1,000 gold lead. And that is just going to be even more difficult for this Renekton to play out.
Especially as he starts to take plates, Elyoya realizes that if you can get Chasy ahead, play for Rift Tower with this big Jayce, it's going to become nigh on impossible for SK to play, especially since Renekton's big pick is supposed to be a play for Rift Tower.
Nisqy's also roaming up here, and Sertuss may be a little late to the party. Cocoon connects, and that is just melted.
They
cannot stand in front of his tower. Markoon sent running for his life. Sertuss too late to the party. 5 kills to 1 and a 2,000 gold lead.
Look at the entire shift, by the way, from the Mad Lions. The bot lane even moved up, so it was this huge rotation towards the top side of the map because they had full prio over bot lane. They're going to lose a couple of minions to that tower, but making sure they were always going to be in a position to show up, pick up the wave that Nisqy was sacrificing in mid as he was rotating towards the top side of the map. Mad Lions are back to rotational form.
And you now got 3 kills on towards Chasy, 4 kills potentially as Elyoya will find Irrelevant. Can't get to the safety of his tower, so again, losing more and more of these creeps. You need to get Sertuss unlocked and moving topside with Markoon here.
It's so bad that the support and AD carry were moving up towards the top side of the map in case Chasy and Elyoya stuck around, because they could have easily, if they wanted to, stood between the 2 towers and never allowed Irrelevant to farm a minion. Now they respect bot lane's missing, we do need to back away, but it's forcing these moves from SK just to stay alive.
When the barrel comes out, Sertuss is pinned again. against the wall, but Hilly's in range. Flash used to keep Sertuss in safety, and Carzzy steps forward, not going to be able to land those autos. But again, it's this proactive play. Mad Lions moving around the map.
Oh my God.
Has got a stun. He's got Sertuss locked in place, and Sertuss will at least get a small heal for now. The body slam does it.
The juke!
Nisqy finds another.
Oh my God, Nisqy avoiding the bubble there as well. Hylissang is a player that just sees kills. He sees red and he always takes the fight. Sometimes it hurts, but sometimes it just allows his team to run away with the game.
And he didn't even have the Magnastorm for that particular engage, just finding the opportunity, holding Sertuss in place long enough for Nisqy to follow up. 6 kills to 1. Another early dragon goes the way of Mad Lions. And for SK, this is an incredibly scary place to be because the composition from Mad can be used again and again and again. The tower dives are great. The initiation tools are great.
But it's Mad Lions really playing as a pack. Nisqy every time is finding these opportunities to roam, get up towards topside, support his team. Sertuss hasn't been able to keep pace. Hilly roaming towards the mid lane to help out Nisqy as well. This is where it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine, and Mad Lions are playing so well, so proactively. Now, SK should be able to get this if they're quick, but Chasy will spot them.
A little bit of threat from Chasy. Can use that accelerated shock blast to look for at least a steal, and won't be able to do it this time around. The Rift Herald is a big pickup here for SK because some plates can help make up this deficit they find themselves in. But they cannot afford to keep being killed. They cannot afford to concede more gold and more of an advantage to the Mad Lions. I mean, that top lane has already been swapped out. Take a look. Irrelevance made his way down bottom, and Exakick is up in the top lane as Carzzy is swapping to match.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a good opportunity. Both side lanes have prio now for SK. They could use that pressure to make something happen on the map, but the bot lane needed a reset. Exakick went back to base, so Irrelevant is just going to hang out in the bot lane. And this is where you can sometimes lose out the windows if you don't have like the proactive playmaking champions around you. They don't use that tempo to push in and do much of anything. So now that swings back over to the Mad Lions. You can see Hylissang inside the enemy jungle. Big wave building up. They want to dive this Lucian, and there's no one to save the Lucian. This Lucian's just going to get exploded.
And Chasy spotted out the play on bot side. This is really well orchestrated. Mad Lions now pushing Exakick and DOS away. The problem that you have for SK, because Irrelevant is so far behind, you're always on a ticking time bomb with Chasy as he approaches a tower. You need multiple members to deal with them. So Mad Lions are just playing to the opposite side, using that big lead Chasy has to force plays elsewhere.
Elyoya is just living inside Mad Lions jungle, consistently forcing SK to give up minions, to give up that gold and that experience. And despite the fact that they are a little bit outnumbered, they have enough of an advantage that SK cannot really contest. 3 plates we're taking in that top lane, 2 plates in the mid lane, and that little ward the observers showed it just a moment or two ago allowed Mad Lions all the information they needed to consistently apply this forward pressure.
As SK are running around trying to play some cleanup here, Mad Lions just continue to get vision. That's a big sleep, though.
What's the rest of the commit? Locked in place by the prison, and Portal Star not going to be enough damage. Nisqy survives. Cocoon catches onto Markoon, and it's Irrelevant trying to get one back. He's got a small HP advantage. The hammer comes down. The slice and dice and the knock back will keep Chasy alive for now. So no kill in the mid lane, and Irrelevant not able to pick that up either.
Mad are going towards topside, and again, you're going to see Exakick and DOS have to step away. Oh, maybe they don't have time, though.
That's a lot of damage already put down onto DOS. Tidal wave through the shot out as well as the buster shot. Rocket jump forward, but here comes Elyoya. Exakick not going to commit the flash. Cleanse will be used to at least escape for now. Dashes away to safety, and Hilly has got that Magnastorm available. Does he fancy the tower dive? The answer is no for now, but it does look like Nisqy's making his way top as well.
A little bit too much there. Hylissang could try to threaten a dive, but I think the health bars are too low to pull that one off. I say that, though. Exakick and DOS have been isolated away. The recalls do end up coming through, and it looks like nothing's going to come from it.
So this is a similar pattern to previous games this series, where when Mad Lions are in an advantageous position, they continue to look for those kills, to dive, to invade the enemy jungle. But they cannot get caught up. They cannot afford to make mistakes on those engages, because that is where SK can claw back this deficit. Yes, it is gigantic at this moment in time, but obviously they're playing on the very, very edge of safety there, Dagda.
The problem that they're having, though, is you just don't really get control over side lanes at any point in time. Elyoya is still stronger when it comes towards the jungle matchup. He's got so much extra gold, and also the fact as well that he is the Elise, so Markoon is trying to avoid him, but you're still playing to a very, very weak side of the map. Exakick and DOS should be at least able to get some turret plates for themselves as well, but it's not enough to really give themselves a mid game where they can fight toe-to-toe against MAD right now.
Not right now. The Rift Herald has been dropped. Hylissang does it! Locking in 3 members of SK, but they will at least get themselves 1 kill back. Carzzy and Exa traded back and forth for one another. The Ferromancy from Hilly sets up a second. Chasy's got his 4th of the game, and Nisqy may be able to find more. The barrel will actually knock Sertuss to safety, but Elyoya, he's hunting, looks for the cocoon, lands it onto Sertuss. The tidal wave buys some time, but DOS is being hammered away. Another kill for Chasy. Irrelevant teleports in and will be shut down. A big chunk of gold going into Sertuss. The slice, the dice. Irrelevant, not really going to be able to find anything more on Nisqy.
MAD Lions' mid lane collapse have just been absolutely devastating, forcing Irrelevant to use the teleport as well, just to trade 1-for-1 at the very back end of the fight. Notice it though, SK are the first ones back onto the map. They have priority over this Drake. I'm not sure MAD Lions are in a perfect position to fight this. Again, Chasy's dead, no TP on him. So even though MAD Lions come ahead in the fight, it's SK with control on the Dragon.
I think when you look at the advantage right now, 2,200 ahead of his opposite number. Chasy has got a gigantic 40 CS lead. He's going to be one of the players that can use that poke damage to ensure any future objectives go the way of MAD Lions. Unfortunately, because of those death timers and the fact that they were a little out of position, SK will at least sneak one of these dragons, giving them the potential of a little bit more time.
This looked really good to start off from MAD with that engage, but watch as Carzzy goes to jump in, Markoon gets the knock away, which prevents Carzzy from actually being able to follow up. They get the kill onto him, and that's where it starts to go a little bit sideways. You still get Exakick here, you still get Chasy who's able to come through, but very deep on the play as Markoon will fall. You get the follow-up coming through with the TP from the Renekton, and it's just, at this stage, I think cut your losses, take a plate, be happy with this. You'd already invested so much on MAD Lions to make this play happen.
Well, SK are going to be hunting for an initiation. 4 versus 3, 4 now. Chasy manages to flash away to safety, or dash away to safety rather. Hilly will get taken out, so SK find themselves a pick and punish MAD Lions for just being grouped up.
Perfect. 4 versus 3 in the mid lane. Both the Gragas was in base, the Tristana was in bot lane. This is what MAD Lions just did to SK. Abuse them with numbers in mid lane and punish them for kills. SK turn it straight back around. A great adaptation.
Now you get Rift Herald, and you can actually trade on top side for the Terra. Carzzy's about to take on bot as well. And if you can crack open this turret, you're getting a lot more control. And this was a much larger gold lead that MAD Lions had, and it's starting to teeter back and forth. I mean, 5 games deep, some mistakes creeping in for MAD Lions.
I think the gameplay from both sides has been very chaotic, has been very kill focused. And that is actually a good thing here for SK, because if they're able to pick some of these fights, use that mechanical ability they've demonstrated to find some kills, they can try come back into this game, but it will require, of course, punishing MAD Lions, who now are looking for Irrelevant, gets caught out by that shock blast, the slice, the dice. Chasy, does he find the shot? No, it's flashed away from Irrelevant, stays alive.
Ooh, flashing just barely to get on out of that one, but holy! Elyoya played that nicely, jumping up to dodge away from the stun, getting back into it. Nisqy has a push straight back in the mid lane, so it's once again MAD Lions with control over the map. And for both these teams, having control over river and enemy jungle is paramount. So much pick potential on both sides. We saw the Zoe from Nisqy take over in game 1 once MAD Lions had Prio. Sertuss and SK need Prio to allow him to do the same.
It's gonna be so difficult because of the fact that Chasy can just keep hammering away. He's got that Eclipse already completed, working towards second item. 3 towers have already fallen on the side of SK Gaming, and they've lost control of their jungle. And look at this, pushed all the way back to their inner turret, while MAD will steal away that blue buff.
It does feel like MAD Lions are just doing a better job, though, of keeping up the pace, playing around their vision on top side, constantly punishing the fact that Irrelevant's behind, and SK just can't do that.
They can't right now. Hylissang hops over that wall. Will not be able to find an initiation, will not be able to find any members of SK to start the fight. So ultimately that one just fizzles, but they can continue to steal away those jungle camps. They can continue to apply pressure in their respective middle and bottom lane, but Irrelevant is pushing top. He's going to be able to get some damage down and is also
he's got red buff, by the way.
Behind Chasy. Teleport coming in here from Sertuss, or Nisqy rather, as he's joining the fight. The tower is secured. Say 1 versus 2. Another teleport coming forward. Nisqy is under some damage threat, but it's Sertuss caught out a little bit by the side. Exakick trying to take down Nisqy. Here comes Carzzy. He's held in place by Markoon. It looks like Carzzy is locked in place with the prison, and SK Gaming have a numbers advantage. They use it to find some kills. Elyoya will be hunting.
Elyoya is still here, but Carzzy used the rocket jump the wrong direction. He was running back towards mid lane while Elyoya still wants to fight.
The cocoon landed onto Markoon, but they're too far away. A lot of teleports used there. Nisqy jumping into the fray. Sertuss jumping into the fray, but another kill for SK, which is huge, as all of a sudden Sertuss was almost blown up.
Exakick flash being down for this next fight though is huge. Nisqy not having flash also gives a little bit of safety to the SK side of things with a minute until this dragon. I'm expecting this to explode once more, but this was just irrelevant, sticking around a bit too long, and SK coming to save.
Yeah, honestly, I was like the 2v2 with the solo laners. I've seen this one before, but MAD Lions got revenge right off the rip. Still though, Dawson Exa were here first, so it looks very strong for them as they sort of focus down onto Nisqy. I think Nisqy actually interrupted the dash there from Exakick too, which was almost really, really bad for him. Luckily, he had the flash to be able to turn it around, but here's where it goes weird for Carzzy, because he W's away really far, even though Elyoya is here, and then starts heading down while Elyoya keeps wanting to fight, a little bit scattered in what both players on MAD Lions are trying to do.
And Markoon being able to interrupt that first rocket jump may have had a gigantic impact, gave enough time for SK to find those kills. Now at 20 minutes, this 4,000 gold lead is starting to feel a little bit less significant, and the fact that MAD Lions have been a little bit chaotic in these fights.
And the fact it's SK. We've seen them come back from these deficits again and again against Heretics, against Vitality, and now they need to do it again against MAD Lions. This is the team that's the odd one out in playoffs, the one team that hasn't won a title, and they have to slay every single one of their opposition if they hope to try and take the title. But it starts here with MAD Lions to get another dragon for themselves.
Now, can MAD find another fight? They're once again clearing out SK's jungle, consistently keeping that vision deep and consistently taking the wolves, the Krugs, the blue. SK have been denied so many resources.
Yep.
And once again, they are pushed all the way back to the inner turrets. They're playing extremely defensively. They do not have much vision to work with.
This is the part of the game where SK just struggle to get farm. First of all, Markoon, he's being invaded on, he's playing the Sejuani, he'll never farm again. Either it's going to Elyoya or it's going to his teammates. Sucks to be Sejuani. But also, Sertuss will find it really hard to farm, especially in siege situations, because Zoe doesn't really want to be playing to clear waves. That's going to be Exakick's job. Instead, is going to play deep in the fog of war, looking for these sleepy bubbles, but like on the defensive side to try and catch out someone that's hitting off onto the tower. It's a very different look to the Zoe we saw earlier in the game, but what it means is that it's going to be much harder to reach the next item breakpoints for the mid jungle of SK.
Especially as a Zoe, you want to be trying to play from ahead, from Elise, so you can use the walls and people sitting under towers, but that's not what we're getting here.
Exakick goes all the way forward, is knocked back by the ultimate fortress.
Oh, Hilly!
That's not huge once again. Hylissang holds everyone from SK in place, but Carzzy is jumped on, he's focused, he's killed off by Dots, who flashed over the wall. All of a sudden, Sertuss is the target, and he flashes away from the explosive cast. SK find another kill, and now have a numbers advantage against the MAD Lions.
They've nothing left in the tank though. Markoon has already used the ultimate, so MAD Lions know they're safe to push in. Use the health bar advantage that they have and start to set up vision for the Baron. Won't be able to get the inner turret, but it is at least a little bit of SK gold.
You have to give credit to SK's target selection, the ability to find the carries.
Hold on.
Carzzy
Carzzy jumped into all of them.
Fair point, very fair point. But I think for SK, they are going to take every single one of these moves.
Let's track what Carzzy did here, because the ult at first is good. Disengage, that's the right idea. Then MAD Lions get a different idea. Hylissang sees a very low Exa, which Carzzy also sees. Unfortunately, they all turn around on him. Markoon isn't CC'd for that long, and Carzzy has no front line. He just went in at first.
I mean, very disjointed on the engage. You can see they wanted to have Nisqy there. That's kind of the combo you were talking about at the start, Ender, where that barrel goes in, but too little, too late. Now you've actually gotten SK with a little bit more gold in their back pockets, starting to again see if they can set up for this Baron objective. And when you have when you're on the red side, it becomes very difficult for Mad Lions to just quickly start this up because you always have to be aware of Markoon coming over the wall.
I think also, crucially, up until that previous fight, Sertuss and Exakick were not significantly further behind their opposite numbers, so at least the damage on the side of SK was not falling so far behind. We haven't seen Chasy find those shock blast poke damage moments to be able to influence the follow-up fight because, frankly, Mad Lions have been either surprised or caught out multiple times. So we're 22 minutes into this game. There is still a gigantic advantage for that Jayce versus Renekton. But because of the fact that it's so much more difficult to use that Elise to go for those tower dives in the inner turrets, Mad Lions have not been able to, push that advantage, push that lead even further.
I will say the good thing for Mad Lions is that they have been able to sort of dominate the vision game inside the enemy jungle. Wherever they group up and walk in, it just belongs to them. So in the future, playing towards 3rd, 4th Dragon, I really like their chances of controlling that area of the map. And again, if Zoe is walking into a dragon fight, especially from the red side, really hard to find good angles to land your bubbles. The walls aren't really favorable for you to work off of that. Also on Mountain Rift, a couple more nooks and crannies that Mad Lions can hide and wait with a Gragas, a Rell, or an Elise. Any one of those players looking for a pick, or Hylissang trying to find a long loop around flank, is something he's definitely going to be eyeing on.
Sertuss is playing this really smart on side lanes though. The second he spots out where Elyoya is, or the majority of Mad Lions, that's when he's going aggressive, so then there can't actually be anyone collapsing onto him. He's very vulnerable in side lanes, but if there's no chance of anyone coming, he's fine.
They're going! That's Elyoya locked in place. He repels up, but what goes up must come down, and another kill secured. Exakick 3, 2, and 3 with 35 seconds until the next dragon spawns. SK have got an advantage, and they've got the time.
I mean, they might just be able to move over to the Baron. 30 seconds on Elyoya. They're going to go there and potentially look to turn. Now, so many big ultimates have been used. It's just irrelevant with the ulti here, but you can see how far away Carzzy is from the rest of the team. SK can find a fight before the carry arrives.
Nisqy's no ultimate available to him either. Carzzy
What's relevant?
Trying to catch back up. Markoon steps forward, turns the attention over to the members, but Hylissang trying to slow them down. All of a sudden, Chasy and Irrelevant are dropped in the fight. Carzzy is remaining untouched. Keep your eyes on Sertuss, forced to flash over
Carzzy's
the wall.
huge!
Carzzy, rocket jumps forward, looking for the reset on DOS. Will get it. All of a sudden, Exakick is dropped by the Nisqy on the mid lane, and it is just SK. They got run down in the pit.
He's dropped by, I know, the Gragas in the mid lane. It's confusing absolutely everyone. Nisqy also on the charge, and he kills him in game.
Ultimate snipe, and just like that, Mad Lions crush down SK, and they are the ones on the Baron.
That was beautiful from Mad Lions. Carzzy managing to get the kills, and the follow-up is there, and now Mad Lions, they get the Baron, they get to reset, they get to move over towards the Dragon as well, and especially with Carzzy now getting a ton of gold off that play, he can actually start to get to that late game threat.
I need to see Mad Lions control the next few minutes of this game because of how aggressively they have tried to find the kills, to punish, to invade on SK. They were the ones that actually conceded so many of these kills, so many shutdowns. And with the Baron buff now, there's a lot more tools available to them. Control the side lanes. Irrelevance Renekton is still, quite frankly, irrelevant. And for the moment, it is Mad Lions securing their 3rd dragon of the game. And they've got a couple minutes to push these side lanes. I want to see how they prioritize it. There's no teleports available to them.
Yeah, gotta clear out bot, clear out mid as well. But when it comes to these fights, you have to watch. Hylissang's engages have just been legendary. Even the fights they lose, he's catching 3-4 people in the Magnet Storm. It's been insane.
This is really difficult for SK to try and defend. Renekton isn't a part of the job. Zoe doesn't want to be on the back foot for these. You've great siege coming through from Nisqy, from Chasy, the ability for Carzzy to take towers. Mad can get so much off of this, and already that's bot lane tower gone immediately.
Yep. And also when it comes to the inhibitor towers, don't forget Nisqy can just throw down an ultimate, and they have 2 seconds to free hit a tower, try to burst it once they've taken it low.
Oh, Nisqy looking to catch DOS out. He had the flash and is forced to use that to stay alive. Nisqy flanking around, level 16 for now. The tower is already taken down. The body slam will not find a target. All of a sudden, SK, they've lost 2 more towers. 5 taken down already. Exakick is too low for any potential fights. And MAD Lions making their way to the top lane.
Wave already there. They can immediately move over, set up vision as they go, make it very difficult for MAD to actually, or sorry, for SK to actually be able to contest this. Even looking as well, ultimates for Nisqy going to be coming back up. So that's all outer towers now gone. And a Lucian, a Zoe. How do you try and push against this?
I mean, the combined wealth of Nisqy, Chasy, and Carzzy is just absolutely ridiculous. SK can't do anything against what MAD Lions have in the bank.
And that felt like a last-ditch
Engage
in the mid lane. They do catch Carzzy, but he's able to flash away to safety, and the return damage is simply too high.
Teleport.
4 members of MAD Lions about to be flanked. Irrelevant will join the fray, but he's simply too far behind. The tower will stand. That is important. The MAD Lions have had a fantastic use of the Baron buff so far.
That was so close to Markoon finding the pick. No cleanse onto Carzzy, but Sertuss wasn't there to follow up. That's now going to be back up momentarily, and MAD are still pushing.
Look at the Hex Flash. Hilly considered the engage. He's got the ultimate available. So does Nisqy. Another wave in 20 seconds on that Baron buff. E goes out. All of a sudden, the sleep connects. Carzzy uses the cleanse. The engage from Hilly's available. Magnet Storm's thrown down. He only catches Irrelevant, who buys some time with that stopwatch. All of a sudden, it's Elyoya backing away. He's chunked a little low, but Chasy is untouched. Sertuss is caught out, rooted, stunned, blown up. A double kill for Carzzy. The MAD Lions, do they fancy a push? This is a 5 versus 3. They could look to end the game.
The Baron's gone.
End SK.
The Baron's gone, but there are more minions on the way. The first tower has gone down. Hylissang trying to tank up now. Only 3 players alive, 30 seconds away. MAD Lions are pushing for the end.
There's no HP available. There's no tools available. There's no hope left for SK. MAD Lions are on the Nexus, and after 544 days, MAD Lions take down SK in a best of 5.
SK gave their all, but they're just no match for the MAD Lions. It was a messy, brawly game of chaos, but MAD are just able to outfight, outsmart, and outwit their opponents at the end.
What a fight, and what a game from Hylissang as well, finding so many ways to kick off those fights. Absolutely corralling SK Gaming multiple times. For a moment there, SK, they picked Elyoya, they're moving over to the Baron, but it was Hylissang that found his mark and set up the team fight for MAD Lions to slaughter him.
The first pick, Elise, unlocked everything. Well, MAD Lions, you can see Exakick on stage right now. A tough loss. But what a phenomenal run for this SK roster. If I look at their placements over the last few years, 8th, 9th, 6th, 9th, 7th. This is the first time that they've made it to the top 4. First time they made it to playoffs in literal years. And these young players can absolutely grow and develop.
I mean, summer 2015 was the last time that they actually made it to a top 4. So honestly, this should still be an incredibly proud moment. And when you're looking at a team like this, who a lot of people on paper at the start of the years were like, ah, yeah, you know, C tier, not really going to do too much, if not even D tier for some people. So the fact that they managed to get this far says a lot about the caliber of players that you have here.
They have come in and shocked week after week. We've only been here 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that in 6 weeks, they have turned this org around. They've come in, finished 4th place in the Winter Split. 2 more weeks after this, we get to see them play again with this experience under the belt. 3 weeks of best of 1s, best of 3s, now a best of 5, that they push MAD Lions to the absolute limits. The rookie players, I know Exakick is gonna feel the pain of this for a while, but that is a player who can step up and push himself through this year and through the rest of his career.
I mean, he's absolutely proven himself against some of the best players that Europe has had to offer. I think today, Sertuss, absolutely shocking and surprising. Some of those performances,
that
in particular, was phenomenal. But I think for the MAD Lions, a kind of a new look, a kind of new approach to the game. I'm loving this very aggressive, this very proactive mid-game from them.
And I think a huge amount did come with the veterancy of Nisqy, right? We already saw him step up and be a massive carry, but the way he was able to set up his waves, to sync with bot side, to look for dives there, move towards top side, even in matchups where realistically he shouldn't be getting the push, he was doing a very good job of keeping the map in check so they could have those proactive plays.
The shifts off of the priority of MAD Lions, from whether it was Nisqy moving to the side lanes moving in, like Chasy had so many fantastic roams into the mid lane. That just shows class. This is a team that is really playing well. It was a tough series for them, but they pulled through in the end, I think a large part due to the fact of their overall map play.
I mean, in terms of that, Chasy, Elyoya, and Carzzy are your nominees for Player of the Series. You can vote on Twitter at LEC. I think it's a tough one because I think literally every player on the Rift today had moments that were fantastic. Ultimately, it felt like MAD Lions just had a slightly better grasp of the map and movements, but SK shocked, surprised, and I think they showed some ways in which they need to be considered, threats for Spring. And how on earth do MAD Lions now bounce back from this? They play Koi tomorrow. That Gragas for Nisqy was definitely a surprise.
I mean, we saw a lot of surprises. Even the Elise starting to come through for Elyoya was something that we were kind of questioning. Is it going to come through? And you got to come after 5 games to go up against Koi. I am not jealous of those lads whatsoever.
Oh, but don't worry. If you beat Koi, you have G2 the day after.
Oh, true.
It's a tough one. This is playoffs for Winter. That does it for us in the cast. That's going to head over to Laure, who's standing by with Elyoya.
Thank you, Quickshot. And Elyoya, thank you for joining me for this interview. Congrats on taking down SK. 5 games. Is it something that you expected? Because from talking to other teams, SK seemed to be a scary team with fearless players and rookie players. But what was your understanding of the team before facing them?
I was not expecting 5 games. I think we should have closed the series earlier. But at the same time, I think they are a really good team. I am actually quite surprised by their bot lane. I think their bot lane is a really solid bot lane, and same for their top laner. I think these 3 really surprised me, and they are for sure a really solid team. We just made top 4, but as you mentioned, they have some rookies, so I'm expecting even more from them. Yeah,
they're going to grow a bit more in Spring, that's for sure. What do you identify as mistakes that you've made today, maybe? 5 games is a lot, but if you had to pinpoint something specific, maybe?
I would say that our main mistake is we didn't really know how to play the comms we were given. I think we didn't understand how the comms wanted to play, and we were, on this last game, we were grouping too much on 3 lanes instead of playing on 2 and playing faster. I would say the game 4, we were not playing patiently enough with the Cassante and poking them. I think there was like many mistakes, but mostly I think the biggest one was that we didn't really understand our composition at our fullest. I see. And you say that taking your time may be something that you missed on, but when you look at SK and the way they've been closing out games, usually it's in deficits that they thrive and that they're the scariest. Is it something that you guys had in mind coming today? Yeah, we knew that if they get a scaling comp, they are gonna scale it. They are gonna get it. Like they are not a team in which you can close a game really fast. So we had it in mind, and yeah, I mean, for last game, we just decided to go a bit ham on them. Yeah, and even the draft that you guys chose was interesting, especially the Rell Tristana bot lane is not something that we often see. Do you have any insights on this, and who made the call, decided this, and why you went for this specific bot lane? It was silly. I mean, we were doubting with some other picks, but Carzzy just said, Hyli, it's your call, and Hyli wanted to play Rell, so realities. Hyli played Rell, indeed. There's something I want to watch here. No, actually, production, if you want to show this again. This is something that I found interesting with MAD Lions, because last week against Astralis, you had the level 1 strat on top side. Here today, you were getting ready as well. Is it something that you worked on specifically, level 1, and how to create surprises in this kind of setting? Yeah, it's something we work a lot on, like level 1s. Yeah. So, I mean, I think pretty much every game we were doing something. Like not the game we had Kassadin, we cannot do much level 1. Like that game we were just hiding from them. We were playing hide and seek. But this one, yeah, we were looking to blow a flash to look for something. I think the game starts at the second 15, so the game just starts there. If you can get an advantage level 1, you should. Yeah, you have to create opportunities on that side. I have an interesting stat. I think we were reaching the 90% win rate on blue side. I think blue side won today. Yeah. What do you think of this, and what's making this side so strong so far in the playoffs? I think there is too many powerful picks that red side cannot give right now, and that is hard to trade. Like in game 1, they tried trading Elise for Jayce, Varus, Gragas, which is a fine trade because you're getting a poking comp, but at the same time, the Elise there is dangerous. If I don't end the first dive, it would have been more dangerous, but my spider was a bit, he got body slammed. But yeah, I think just there is too many powerful picks in this patch. So being on red side is a big disadvantage. And it's interesting because in most of the drafts we see, it's often jungler getting picked first, Elise, of course, having a high priority, but also Vi, Sejuani. What do you make of the jungle role right now and how important it is when it comes to the draft? I think it's one of the most important because the jungle is the one that is impacting the 3 lanes. So getting a strong pick there is usually good, and even more when right now you have like these like demons in the patch like Maokai is. So you cannot give Maokai. It's a demon.
Yeah.
I think same for Elise. I think same for Sejuani. Just every single jungler right now is like kind of strong. I mean on this patch, not on live. So I think just it's the most important right now.
Jungle is OP, something that League of Legends players would like to hear, of course. You guys overcame the best of 5 memes for Mad Lions, winning one against after such a long time. Is it something that you were thinking about? And moving forward, facing Koi tomorrow, tell me about how you expect things to go.
It's something we were looking like to finally win a BO5 in LEC because we won one at Worlds, but that doesn't count. That's not LEC. So yeah, I mean, we are quite happy to get this win. But I'm really excited for tomorrow because it's Koi. It's, I mean, like Eva is it's a big friend of mine, same for Canecro. So I'm really excited to play against them and I love the banter. And I always said that I'm only like in the playoffs just to kick them out of the bracket. That's my only purpose in these playoffs.
All right. Well, Spanish Clásico in the playoffs. Elyoya, thank you so much for the interview. I'll let you get ready and best of luck in the preparation against Koi. And we're going to send it to PGL right now with Sertuss, Das, and Shocks. Take it away.